everyone, I'm Cassidy Megan, host of our stories presented by Unmasked Cassidy Megan podcast. Welcome to this our story. Today we're interviewing Sarah. Sarah, would you like to tell us a bit about yourself?
Yes, my name is Sarah Ross, and I'm from Charlottetown, PEI. I do have epilepsy myself. I've had it now since I was 12 years old. So since 1992 is when I was diagnosed.
So, how does epilepsy affect you?
I do have to say it's affected me in both a negative and a positive way. I guess, as I said, since I was diagnosed with epilepsy, I've dealt with it quite difficult. I've had a difficult time with it, and I've actually struggled with a depression and also with great difficulty to accept my diagnosis. But at the same time, I also dealt with it in a positive manner to because I have a lot of support from friends and family, and also epilepsy in a way has kind of taught me to be quite strong and actually not to give up.
What obstacles have you had to overcome with your epilepsy?
Some obstacles, despite being on medication, of course, I actually had my son, so I understood the risks of being pregnant, of course, with my child, and now of motherhood, of course, despite my seizures, and also working despite my seizures, of course.
Did having epilepsy impact your decision in having a child?
Actually, not really. I actually knew the risks. My child was well planned, of course, but like I knew the risks because despite being on medication, and I knew the risks that there was possibilities of birth defects, of um, pregnancy causing problems with me, putting me even at risk of having seizures. But I still decided that I wanted to go through with it, and I did. And when I had my child, I was still actually seizure free at that point. And recently, I mean, he's seen me have a seizure, of course, but he's dealt with it very well. And he very well understands that his mummy has epilepsy, and he is very proud to support his mummy in my struggles, and he does very well.
So you're very involved with your local epilepsy agency. Why do you think the agencies are important, and why should people living with epilepsy reach out to one?
I would say support is a big one. Support not just to people who live with epilepsy, but to their families. Having that chance of joining into support groups and getting different information and being able to speak with other fellow people who have epilepsy as well, and learning their stories and them learning my story. So I think just having that support, if you just, even if you have just simple questions to ask, whether it's to do with getting the information, to get doctors, the list goes on.
Living with epilepsy and being a parent to a young child, do you have any anxieties or fears or obstacles that your peers might not have?
Most definitely. I guess the fear that any time that whether I could have a seizure, even just being, I have been actually home alone with just him. But recently I've trained him how to use my phone to be able to call for help, mainly from either my mother or my husband, or even my mother-in-law for that matter. But there's been moments that it can be a little added anxiety, but not probably to the extreme that it debilitates me or anything. But he's a smart kid. I think the empathy for him came just naturally. He's slowly learning about my seizures. To him, he used to find that, okay, mommy has seizures. And now he's starting to understand that mommy has epilepsy. That also creates these seizures, of course. So he's kind of slowly learning my condition. And sometimes in the back of my brain, I do have the fear of him ending up with it later in life. But the, I think the fear is, I think, very small because the risk is very small. So, but it's just hard to know. But I think it's just a little added stress. He's a great kid and he's very understanding. And I mean, he's, as I said, he saw me have a seizure when I was 5, when he was 5, excuse me, for the first time. And I think it made it harder on me than it did on him.
The next question, I guess, would be, what do you wish people knew about epilepsy?
No, I noticed a lot of people, fear, not to fear epilepsy or seizures, especially specifically more just in general. Um, I've noticed people with, when I say that I have epilepsy or I have seizures, I've noticed the eyebrow go up. I've noticed their body language and just say as if they're kind of like, as if, it's like, I'm not going to drop right here and now and have a seizure. Don't worry. Relax. So, and just in general, for people to get to know what epilepsy is, to understand it better, and the fact there isn't just one type of seizure, which I often come across even with my coworkers. So really just general information, getting to know general information, which Debbie has helped me a lot out with as well. So, which I should say the association has helped me out a lot. They still are. Get that.
You mentioned about like depression and the mental health earlier. How do you find you best cope with it all?
Well, I talk with a counselor, of course, through our mental health situation. So roughly depending on my week, either every week or every 2 weeks. Plus I have just general ways of coping, like breathing exercises and just, well, put your favorite music on and dance away to it. And that helps you actually focus on your body movement and on your breathing, opposed to what was worrying you in the first place.
What kind of epilepsy do you have?
I was diagnosed with having left temporal lobe epilepsy, or I have focal seizures, actually. So I have both simple and complex partial seizures. When I was diagnosed, I had grand mal or tonic-clonic, and absence seizures when I was first diagnosed. I also struggle with psychogenic non-epileptic seizures as well, which is basically a way of dealing with extreme stress, and they can cause you to kind of almost a mimic of a grand mal seizure in most cases. Yeah. So.
Questions or anything you'd like to talk about, add, or?
Anybody? don't be scared to reach out. Whether it's to your association, to a friend, anybody, please don't be scared to reach out and seek that support. And, don't let it bottle you up. Mhm.
Well, you did great. You said you had a couple. I won't keep you on too much longer than that. I'll let you rest. Thank you so much for doing this. You did amazing.
No, it's my pleasure to be able to have a chance to share my story and do this.
Definitely. Everyone's story is inspirational and unique and needs to be heard. So I'm glad I was able to help you get your story out there to be shared.
Shining on me, I feel stronger than before.